Hi everyone, and thank you for being here for this conference about the graduate programs. My name is Thomas. It's an honor to be speaking today. In the name of the Career Center and the Student Union, we would like to thank our guests. For starters, would you like to introduce yourself and the company you work for?
Okay, thank you. So hi everyone, thank you for being here. I know it's late and you are all the career fair today, so I think we are all we just want to go home. But I've been in touch with some of you today, so I already have some of a conversation, and maybe I can go further and give you some details about the group. So my name is Aude. I'm working for the HR department of Urgo Group. It's a big company in the healthcare industry, in the pharmaceutical industry. I'm working from Paris, and I'm in touch with all the entities of the group. So just to be really quick and short about the group, we have 3 environments. So we have the wound care industry, that's the medical industry, and you're going to work with the professional of the healthcare industry for this one. We have the I would say the healthcare consumer industry with 3 laboratories. So for that, you're going to see all the products that maybe you can use, because you can find these products in supermarkets, in pharmacies, like Mercurochrome, for example. And we have a startup, Urgotech. It's a baby in the group creating 3 years ago, where we're going to create medical devices. Maybe you heard about the CES of Las Vegas. It's a big show about all innovation presented by the company, and Urgotech, the startup of the group, was here to present the medical devices that you try to launch in Europe, but also in the US, and that's all. So Urgo, 3 environments, just 1 group, but a lot of opportunities. But I think I will have time to go back to the means to enter in the group.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Clara. I work for the HR team at the production department in Ubisoft. Ubisoft has been created 32 years ago. It's one of the top 3 publishers worldwide in the gaming industry. We have more than 12 franchises that sold more than 1 million units each. Maybe you've heard about some of them. Just to quote the most famous, Rayman a few years ago, Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six, For Honor, and maybe many others. So I will present you more in detail the graduate program.
Sure. Would you mind giving us a quick overview of the program, of the graduate programs, before we go more in details?
Sure. So the graduate program at Ubisoft is a 2-year fast-track development program for fresh graduates with less than a year of experience. The particularity of the program is that you spend 1 year in a home studio where you are hired. Then you are sent abroad for the year 2 of the program to see another phase of the project you are working on. The graduate program has 4 tracks, 2 in programming, 1 in user experience, and the one that interests us the most today, of course, project management. The particularity of the graduate is that you will be followed up really closely and have a development and training program, get exposure to top experts at the very beginning of your career, and have responsibility from day 1.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think it's really interesting to be in your graduate program. So actually in the group, in Urgo Group, we have 5 different graduate programs. So it's difficult to be really short. We are not really looking for...
You can take your time to give us a quick overview of the 5 programs.
Okay. We don't have just a specific type of profile for this kind of graduate. So we have 5 graduates. So the first one is what's called the VIA. It's a UM program. You go directly in another country. It could be in Asia, in Singapore, it could be Brazil, in a specific area, like a financial controller. It was the last VIA we sent in Singapore, for example. VIA. So we just leave for maybe 1 year, you come back in the group, and you can change to a permanent position. We have what's called the Urgo consulting firm. Anne is here. She's coming from your school. She's a consultant for 1 year, so I already had this conversation with some of you today, but it's an in-house consulting firm within the corporate function of the group in Paris. And the idea is, because you have 3 different environments, you're going to work with all the entities through recommendations. I want to implement anti-me because we do anti-me for the sexual hygiene in Italy, for example. It's not the case for the time being. You're going to work with the marketing head of Juva, and you're going to try to implement the brand in the Italian market, for example. The idea, just to make sure that during 1 year or 1 year and a half, you're going to work with all the entities through specific recommendations to see, to give you an overview of everything in the group and see for the second step what could be the most interesting operational orientation. The feed, the marketing, the ad share, it might also happen. The controlling also after this first step. So VIA, Hugo Consulting, we are also looking for project officer. Actually, all the member of the board and the general manager are working closely with young graduates, so we can have people from EMLYON, from the program Grandes Écoles, or for people coming from pharmaceutical background. They're gonna work directly with the general manager during 1 year or 1 year and a half. Once again, we don't really care about the nature of the mission because it can be really various. You can have to deal with the supply chain, you can deal with the marketing field. But once again, we make sure we have an overview of everything, and you're going to see what's your sensibility, your performance, your mobility. And after 1 year, 1 year and a half, you're going to move to a next step in a more operational positions. The same, that whatever the graduate program, there's a kind of philosophy, a high exposure with the top manager of the groups, an overview of everything, and an exposure to the international environments also. Via Urgo Consulting, project officer, we also have what's called the Urgo Leadership Program. It's the most international program for people coming from other countries. So it's the rule of 3-3-3, 3 years, 3 missions, 3 countries. So we try to work by specific area. We're going to have Nick in the financial area. It means that you could spend the first year in Paris like finance controller, spend the second year in Singapore as corporate controller, and move on to Turkey for the third year as, again, a corporate controller for all region, and after stay in the group in a permanent position. And the last one is the field force for people wanting to go directly on the field as a salesman in a way to try to see how we negotiate with the products. It's going to depend because if you are a salesman for Juva Santé or for Ego Medical, you don't have the same customer, but it can be really good for people wanting to move to marketing or manager positions. So depending of the graduate programs, your final wish in terms of career path will be the key to determine what could be the most important graduate program to start with.
Okay? And so all those 5 programs are for students from business schools?
Exactly.
All those 5 programs.
That's why we're here. And we work closely with EMLYON, whatever the background. It can be also for MBA profiles, so we are totally free with the profiles we may have.
Thank you very much. So now let's go more in details about the programs. Could you tell how does it work? What's your ambition with these programs? More in details.
Once again, so with these 5 graduate programs, so just to give you an idea in terms of population in the group for France, for all the international environments, we are around 3,200 people, so it's not huge. And in terms of turnover, it's around 600 millions. So we are in a middle-sized company. It's not a startup. It's not a big company. It's in between, I would say. But you are looking for the billion in 3 years, so it means that you have to, the growth of the company is really good because I think it's going to work because we are in a lot of different countries, more than 20 countries today, and it's going to move really fast, especially with the medical environment. We're on the second step in Europe after Monluc, for example, and we have very good ambitions in terms of growth. And so we decided 5 years ago, I would say, to create these 5 graduate programs to have people starting in mature countries, especially in France, but also in Europe. It might be in Spain, in Germany, or England, to are able to create a kind of roots and specific soft skills to be able to help us to develop countries where we are not so well structured. It might be in the US, in the years coming, in Asia, or also in South America. So find a good pipeline of talented people starting in this kind of graduate programs to move on to other countries we are not well structured and become maybe on the long term the future country manager of the entities of the group. So find the future leaders of the group in a way.
All right, thank you.
Okay, to give you a bit more of context and overview about the gaming industry, to explain why we have this graduate program in place. Gaming industry is one of the fastest growing entertainment industry, with more than 100 billion in revenues for the last year. And among these top publishers, we have a really high growth objective. And to reach them, we rely, of course, on our 14,000 employees worldwide, but also on like very high quality potentials that we will be able to fast track from the very beginning of their career path. And the second point is, in this industry, the job of project manager or producer at a senior level is really critical, because it's the person in charge of delivering our games in time, with the budget allocated to it, and with the in line with a really high quality standards of the game that we set up. So the graduate program, when you enter in it as a project manager, the objective is to project you as one of the future producer, leading teams and bearing the vision, the strategic vision of our game. That's the reason why we want from very young people at the beginning of their career, when they enter a studio, to demonstrate their quality as a project coordinator with impactful communication, able to make people from very different studios worldwide able to work together. So
is it required to have an engineering background for those specific?
No, absolutely not.
No.
It can totally be handled by business profiles, and because it requires qualities of leadership, of project coordination, of impactful communication, and of really strong organizations. So it doesn't require to have a really strong, let's say, technical background in programming or in engineering, even if, of course, it's a plus if you like video games, if you're interested in those areas, but it's not, you don't need to have studied those fields to be able to be an excellent producers. We have many people coming from business school every year who enter the graduate.
Thank you. So now let's talk about the recruitment process. How does it work, and how long does it take?
The good thing with Ergo is, once again, it's a middle-sized company, so we are very good in terms of we're going really fast in terms of decision, whatever decisions impacted the business, but also in the recruitment team. So we are able to just have 2 or 3 steps per mission, whatever, if you enter for a VIA or for a project officer position. Most of the time you just have an interview with an HR. After, you're going to have a business case, an operational business case. You're going to have a last type, most intense, I would say, interview. And after that, we think it's enough to be able to see if you're okay, if you have the fit with the company. And after, we're able to make a decision, you and us. So 3 steps gonna be it's gonna be enough, whatever the position, graduate program or not.
Okay, through an assessment center or no?
Hold on.
Okay.
Just and also the good thing is that with all these graduate programs, there's a short rotation. So in a way, we are always looking for people who are able even to see people, even the position is not really available for the time being. So it's kind of,
there is no best time to apply?
Not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm quite against assessment centers, so I never do. So I never do like 10%. You just have 1% at the end of the day. So no, it's just case by case.
All right, thank you.
The recruitment process is also in 3 steps. We have first a phone interview, then an interview face-to-face in the studio that you applied for, and then an assessment center. We're not looking for a percentage of people to be recruited at the end of it. Actually, we are looking for a really high-quality profile. If everyone in the room is really a good performer, we hire everyone. So it's not like we are looking to, let's say, eliminate applications at the end of it, but more just to see if we have shortlisted the best candidates.
All right. And so, is there a best time in year to apply?
Yes, actually, the application online process has started on January 1st, and we will be
Act fast.
and will be closed on February the 28th.
Okay, so it's at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
Concerning Ungo, once again, we are always looking for people, so we don't really have a kind of specific schedule, but I can you today that if you are looking for something right now, we have internship for Urgo Consulting, we have permanent position also in Urgo Consulting. I'm looking for a project officer, people on the field force, if you want to see how it looks like to negotiate on the field in the pharmaceutical industry, and after we have a lot of different internship, but outside of the graduate programs.
Thank you very much. And what are the profiles that what profiles are you seeking?
Well, we are looking for profiles with very good organizational skills that are at the same time really people-oriented and humble, as they will get some exposure really early to top management and top experts. We need them to be able to be at the same time really impactful communicants, but also to be able to learn and to admit that they don't know everything. We are also looking for people with excellent coordination skills, as we need to make people work together, sometimes on very different time zone, to deliver the same project at the same date, and it's really a challenge. So.
And are you looking for people who just graduated or with the professional experience after graduation?
The requirement is to have less than 1 year of experience, internships excluded. So if you have graduated last year and have started to work, it's still okay to apply for the graduate program.
Thank you.
And the same, so outside of the internship, so most of the time we are used of having people just coming out of school, so maybe after 1 or 2 years of experience, but I had a coffee with the MBA during the lunch, and I told them that we are also open for highly experienced people, because especially for Urgo Consulting, the funny thing is that the recommendations are coming from the entities, so they're going to see the consulting department to say, okay, I need someone to work on this kind of position, and we are used of having young graduate people, really good, but we'd like to open positions to people having maybe 3-4 years of experience to deal with more difficult missions. So once again, we are quite open to everyone. So actually, we are not in the same industry. The gaming, the pharmaceutical industry, we all have graduate programs. So you could try to enter in the group of Ubisoft or maybe Urgo Group. So in a way, we are looking for the same profile. So for you, what would be the interest to be in the industrial, in the pharmaceutical industry or the gaming industry? Even if I'm not looking for people having an experience in the pharmaceutical industry, it's just simple as what I'm going to say. But the curiosity for the e-health, the digitalization, everything links to the actuality of the health industry is going to be a major plus to enter in the group, whatever your background.
And there is no difference between the 5 graduate programs in terms of profiles. What you're looking for in a candidate is the same for each program? Or
for the Urgo Consulting department and for the Urgo leadership programs, we are really open to international profiles. The good things I already told them to some of you, but we offer the opportunity to work in Paris even if you don't speak French, so it may be reassuring for some of you. So because you try to give you missions in English, and people are supposed to speak in English even if it's a French company, so you might be international and work in Paris in Urgo Consulting. And the Urgo leadership program, the program of 3 years, is really also open to international profiles. So because you need to create a very international background and environment, especially in Europe, and VIA, project officer, field force, I would say it's much more for French people, because you need to be able to be totally fluent in French, whatever your missions.
That's perfect. Thank you. And so what are the values that you're looking for in a candidate?
Okay.
And by the way, what are the values of your company?
Okay. as we aim to create a long-lasting positive experience in our players' life. We are looking for people who share the same values of having fun, building trust, and looking for people's happiness. So it's let's say it's the kind of values that we are looking for into our candidates.
Yes, I will share this kind of values for sure. Also, that's a value we don't really talk about in the group, but humility, it might be quite surprising, but humility is really important. Why? Because you are all coming for a very good school. In a way, you sometimes, if you enter in a graduate program, sometimes you can be quite disconnected to the reality. So, and whatever your position, you're going to have to deal with all the positions in the group, people from the supply chain. We are in Paris, but also in Dijon. So, whatever your position, you have to be able to create a kind of network inside the company. So if you don't have the good attitude and if you are not humble, it might be really difficult for you to have the trust of people. So humility in a way is much more important than we can think. And we are just coming out of school. People are not always aware of the necessity of this kind of value.
I couldn't agree more.
And
do some people fail the graduate program?
Exactly, because they lack of humility. Exactly, because sometimes they feel everything's going to be easy because graduate programs, sometimes it's like, okay, because you're going to work directly with the members of the board, with general managers, so you think you are kind of God in the company.
It looks like the golden path. So.
It might be, but that's the difficulty of this program. You are supposed to be in a very good position because you are supposed to be really talented people, but if you are not able to deal with all the people, you're going to be disconnected. You don't have the trust of people, and it's not working because it's not the state of mind of the company. So some people fail because they don't have the good attitude, and they didn't really understood the idea of the program.
So humility is the word of the day.
Is really much more important than we can think, and also the capability of being really hands-on, because the reverse, when you are working with the CEO of the group, for example, for a mission, he doesn't have a lot of time, so you have to be really autonomous. And once again, when you are in the graduate programs, you think everything's going to be easy for you, like, okay, because you are looking for training, for development, it's part of the game, but you have to be really autonomous and hands-on to be able to find information by yourself, to go on the field. If tomorrow I tell you, for example, Maëlle, she's coming from EMLYON. She spent 1 year in Ogo Consulting. One of her mission was to say, could you try to work on the pet care industry? It's not the case for the time being. So she's not veterinary. She didn't have a scientific background. So she didn't hesitate to talk directly with veterinary. Veterans, also with doctors. So she just get out of our desk just to understand how the field is working, and she had really good impacts on her recommendation. Just don't be afraid to go directly on the field, go out of your comfort zone once again, and be really hands-on to be able to create a really good added value compared to the other one. Because if you have 5 people from EMLYON starting as consultants, it could be the case because you are used to working with EMLYON. The person that's going to be able to create an impact and to be sold in a way to the top manager is the person able to be able to be more curious and to be able to be creative, add something much more impactful, if it's clear.
Yeah. Thank you, and that's perfect, because my question was about to be what advice would you like to give to students here that might be interested to enroll in these programs? What are the advice you would like to give today?
Actually, what makes the difference among the application we receive every day is the ability of the candidates to emphasize on its skills of project coordinator at a personal and at a professional level. His ability to explain clearly what he does. It's pretty difficult sometimes. And also his ability to step back, to see what his experience was and to have critical, let's say, opinion about what he did and how he could have done it better.
Thank you.
I was trained because I was in your shoes, not really far from now. So I was thinking about what kind of advice maybe I didn't have and that I was looking for. I would say it's not a skill, but it's a kind of ability to create a network, whatever your position, if it's a graduate program, an internship, a permanent position, you don't really care. The most important thing for you and your development is your capability to create a kind of network with your colleagues, because once again, it's linked to the humility and the fact that you are not an expert, so you're gonna need all the people to develop yourself, so capability to have communication skills to deal with everyone and to sell yourself in a way. Once again, you are from a business school, so to grow up in a company in a way, you have to be able to be exposed in a good way, to have the good attitude, to show what's your value, and to be different compared to the other one, because you are all coming from the same schools. And I think it will be capability to create a network of experts, to have the good attitude, and it's already something good, I would say.
How many people access every year to a graduate program, and do they work together in as a class?
Every year, I think you are about, we hire, we have the 5 graduate programs, around 25% per year, I would say, in Europe. So it's quite huge and it's quite constant in terms of recruitments every year, but we don't have a lot kind of promotion, because once again we don't have a kind of special schedule like, okay, in January we're gonna look for all the VIA or for all the consultants, so we don't create a kind of promotion aspect, but sometimes they are all really autonomous in terms of missions, so they are not supposed really to work directly.
And do you know how many people does that represent every year for the 5 or just one of the graduate program at Urgo?
In terms of recruitments?
Yeah, how many people enroll in graduate program every year?
I think it's around 25%.
Around 25%, okay.
It's around 15 people every year. Just to give a bit of context, among 4,000 applications every year. So 15 people, and as they are hired at the same period and start at the same time of the year, we have some promotion filling with sharing events in common with the graduates recruited on the same year. So we are trying to create among them a network and a belonging feeling.
Thank you very much. We are going actually really fast, so would you like to add some key elements that I might have missed with my questions? Would you like to tell us some more about the program before we go for a question and answer session?
Okay, for me to go to Q&A.
Maybe you have some conversation to have something more interactive. Maybe you have some questions and try to give you more details, understand also what you are looking for, because it's 2 companies, it's 2 different environments. So you're here in a conference of graduate programs, so I think you all have your own definition. So don't hesitate if you have specific questions about the group or about I'd share questions, I don't know.
Sure, and you can also ask questions about the field. Even more than the graduate program, if you like. All right. Okay.
Yeah, actually, we try to create kind of tailor-made programs in a way. It's not because you started in Paris that you stay in Paris. Once again, everything is it's case by case. That's also why you don't have promotion. We, for example, for the Ergo Leadership Program, today we have a guy from Iran, no, Lebanon. He's having his first mission in Dijon in the controlling, so he's going very well. So we are about to change his mission, and I think he's gonna move to Super Diet, so he's going to stay in France, but he's going to move to Lille in another financial experience. So actually, the two first steps are in France, even if I told you that it's supposed to be 3 countries during the 3 years, but it might change. So every case is quite different, but if you have personal wishes and desires, you can try to take in account to organize the program depending on that. It sounds clear? Or not?
After I finish this program, and I want to go back to France, so I kind of look for the opportunities inside of Hugo. And if I didn't, for example, didn't have internship in Dijon, it's not really possible to have a post in Dijon, right?
Yes, you may have. In a way, it's not to just give you, but everything is possible in a way. So, because if you come in the Ergo Leadership Program, you're going to sign a permanent position. So you're going to have 3 different contracts. So, you must start like in Dijon, like control, financial controller, and after for the first year you're going to say maybe you should go to Singapore because we have because it's a question, it's the demand has to be equal to the demand, so in a way your next position is always in line with the needs of the group, you see, but everything is possible. You can start your first mission in Paris, move on in 2 other countries, come back after in Dijon, so we don't have everything is possible. It's really a tailor-made program, so I can give you some example of success through the Ergo Leadership Programs, but we are not it's not a stuck program. You see what I mean?
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
How do we apply? Because I checked there is no like online application, or we send an email to you with our CV and motivation letter. What is the?
I'm really fun to. I'm always working with LinkedIn, so don't hesitate to put to send me an invitation on LinkedIn, and after I create the contact, I try to create the story. So I've tried to work with a digital version, I would say, because the Ergo Leadership Program, we are not always putting these kind of offers because. Something really particular with Ergo, sometimes if we find a good profile, we are able to create the programs. We are not always looking for a need in the group to looking for someone. We are not looking for vacancies. If you think we can try to create the demand, if we think we have the good persons, and we think the person can add something to the group.
Okay, so I am asking for Ergo Consulting, not Ergo Leadership Program. So it's the same.
It's the same.
Okay.
It's going to be the same.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Small question for Urgo, just a clarification about your leadership program. Is it only for financial profiles or another department like marketing works as well?
Today we have someone in the financial program, Mokhtar from Lebanon. We have a Turkish girl, she's in a marketing position in Istanbul. We have another person also in the marketing field. So we know that we're going to have a focus on the financial environment, but we might be also interested by other options, by business development and marketing might be also interesting. After it's going to be a question of mobility and a question of countries, because, we want to have a focus on specific countries like Germany, like Brazil, like India. So the nationality of the profile may also help to think if you have an added value in the strategy of the group.
Hello. Thank you for both of your presentation. I have a question about the Ubisoft program. Do we need to have like a previous experience in production or in the gaming industry?
So it's a strong plus, of course, if you have some, but it's not something that is compulsory, as we are looking for a really talented project coordinator, even if it's not in production. And even if it's not also in gaming industry. If you have been a producer but in another entertainment industry, it might be great as well. What we are looking for is more for a genuine interest for the video game industries, but not for the specific producing experience in video games. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Does anyone else like to ask a question?
Just one question, just for both of you. It's about when we finish the graduate program, what kind of position do we have in the company, actually? Because I don't understand. Do we enter as a junior, senior, or something like this?
So for the project management position, you enter, of course, at a junior level, which means that you support the producers in coordinating and assuring the deliverables and the budget and the deadlines to be reached. At the end of the program, there is no specific position that you should be occupying. It's really according to your own path. So we don't expect someone at the end of the 2 years to be at intermediary or senior level. We just want to make sure that they went faster than the average of junior people. But we don't set any target in terms of jobs or grades for those persons.
It's quite the same for us, actually. Once again, we may have 3 people of EMLYON starting, for example, as a consultant in consulting. Someone's going to go on the field, like me. Someone's going to move to a financial controller position, and another one's going to be in the marketing field. So once again, it's tailor-made, so it's going to be up to you, your mobility, and your performance, or what you think is your performance. And after that, it's going to create a second step. It's going to be more operational, for sure. It can be in France, or maybe in Europe, or maybe in another country, depending of your of everything. But once again, it's maybe it's frustrating to do that, to say that, but we don't have a special fast track program. So it's up to you and our needs, really.
And if I may add, it depends also on the kind of projects you work on, as we have very different type, size of projects. Of course, it won't be the same if you start in a very huge project involving 10 studios, or if you work in a smaller project involving 3 studios, because the expectations won't be the same from one position to another.
Okay.
But whatever the position, just know that it's really related to the pharmaceutical industry, medical device, the startup with all the medical devices. So everything links to innovation, to e-health, and also to finance. Gonna give a key in terms of what you're gonna be look for in terms of maybe not a position, but kind of environments you may evolve in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see. I understand.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So everything is possible in a way,
Okay.
depending of the needs of the company, demands and offer always. Okay.
I see. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Could you give us success stories from your graduate programs, like people who had different paths, who they became after the graduate program?
Actually, I arrived in January, so I will let my manager to answer the question, if you don't mind.
No problem. I'm coming for you.
Hello everyone, sorry I'm taking over. So yeah, just to give you a quick overview of success stories that we had. The graduate program has been created in 2014, so we have it's quite recent. But from the first people that joined us in the graduate program, one of them started as a project manager in the Paris studio. So he started working on a huge project, AAA game. He stayed for a year, handling specific teams on this project. I think it was Ghost Recon at the time. So he was dealing with technical teams, He was managing their workload, he was organizing what they did, etc. He really enjoyed it. Then he moved on to a second experience in Sweden, actually, to work on another project, a smaller sized one. He discovered a new way of thinking, a new way of doing business, a new way of organizing work, basically, and new technologies as well. It was quite interesting for him. And then he came back, actually, to his home studio in Paris. And now he's actually producing a video game I can't talk about because it's confidential. But he's a quite successful producer, very visible. And so it's definitely one of the key examples that we try to push. Today we have more and more diversity in the path that people actually show and choose during the graduate program. For instance, we're recruiting this summer a programmer, a gameplay programmer. She's working in Berlin at the moment. And she now has more and more missions that are focused on user experience as a programmer. And what she would like to do in a few years is become a producer herself. So you can see that there are quite varying paths. We have a lot of success stories to share. We're actually sharing some of them currently on social media, so you might see them. Every week we're posting testimonies, so don't hesitate to check it out. It's on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook.
To be really fast, we have a lot of alumni of EMLYON within the group. The general manager of Urgo Medical, Alexandre Topaz, is working with Urgo with EMLYON. He's from EMLYON. The head of all the controlling, Johan Wasserer, is also from EMLYON. We have a lot of people, but concerning the graduate programs, we have 5. But Diaretu, she's French. She started a VIA in Brazil. She stayed, so she's always in Paris. She stayed in Brazil, so after a VIA, she stayed in Brazil, and she's still in Brazil today as the financial controller of the country, for example. Urgo Consulting, a girl started 1 year in Urgo Consulting, and she moved on to Vietnam to work for Urgo, the laboratory Urgo Healthcare in Vietnam. Project officer Claire used to be the project officer of the CEO of the group, and after 2 years she moved on in the marketing manager position in Singapore, and she's always in Singapore today. Urgo leadership program, Suzanne was from Singapore. She didn't speak a word in French at the beginning. Her 3 missions were in Europe. She's now in a permanent position. She's still in Paris, and she's working for Urgo Medical, especially Urgo Touch. It's a laser that you try to sell to surgery, obviously. And field force, a lot of people started on the field, they become project manager and after regional manager. So actually we have a lot of success story, whatever the position, graduate or not graduate.
All right, thank you very much. I think it's 45 and I think you might have to go. Thank you very much again for taking the time to present the graduate programs today to our students. And
thank you.
Thank you. I think that we should all...
Thank you.